Okay, in the spirit of our 2022 holiday party, I want to thank the members of the Mahwah County Committee, many of whom are here. Would you raise your hands? For your continued efforts to build our community of Democrats in Mahwah. Tonight, we are outlining our 2023 agenda with all of our members. We are looking for your input, new ideas, and for you to decide in which areas you can become active. I think you'll find our speakers tonight are leaders in the very best way possible. And I hope that you will choose to join some of them this year in the projects and committees that they are leading. So I'm going to turn this over now to Sally Becker, our vice chair. And again, thank you for coming. And I think we're going to have a great meeting.
Thank you, Sally. Hi, everybody. I'm Sally. I'm the vice chair. I want to thank Sally Monahan for being our chair. We had a very successful year in 2022. We did a lot of activity. We did quite a bit of get out the vote. We did letter writing, postcard writing. We brought our newsletter. We participated in Mahwah Day. What we're going to do tonight, like Sally said, was go over some of the areas that we're doing work in and kind of have people do presentations. But I do want to thank a few people in the room who have done quite a bit of work this past year. Beth did a lot of postcard writing, letter writing. Jerry with the newsletter and the website. We're doing Zoom for the first time tonight. We also have we got Lynn as our new treasurer, Warshaw, David headed up the Get Out the Vote initiative. We're going to start out tonight with Todd Sherer, who's the district chair for LD 39. I know for me, I was very confused when I heard CD5, LD 39. So for people that don't know, when you hear CD5, that's our congressional district, and that's Josh Gottheimer is our congressperson. If you hear LD 39, that refers to the state, and it's the legislative districts. And I think there's 40, and what comes out of each district is a state senator and 2 state assembly people. So right now, our representatives that are in the state legislature are Republicans. We have Holly Shapisi, we have Bob Ott, and we have Deanne Capuccio, who I don't think is running. So what I'm going to do at this point is kind of turn it over to Todd. He's going to fill us in on the candidates that we have as Democrats. Because all of a sudden we're going to be going into the primary, we're going to be going into the general election. So we've got work to do on that end. We've got work to do, just kind of growing the party, educating people, in town, and, within our club here. So I'm going to turn it over to Todd.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. Is the right square?
Yes.
Right.
And speak up.
I will speak. Well, it's great to see everybody here. It's actually nice, very nice. So good to be here. So as Sally mentioned, one of my responsibilities as the District 39 chair is recruiting candidates for office. Sometimes a challenge to find good qualified candidates from these offices. It's a heavy lift. It's a long race. It's a hard race. Running against incumbents, and it really takes a constant, consistent action to turn these seats over. While the chair of 39, the congressional district 5, there's a lot of overlap between the two. So over the years, I've been very active in trying to flip the ship. And it took about 10 cycles to accomplish that. It took a long time. So find the right candidate, build the right organization around it, and we have lightning strike. And it did. And obviously we're now bearing the fruits of that. We now have not only a Democratic congressman representing us, we actually have one of the leaders in Washington representing us. So we don't have 8 congressmen yet, so he's really been short of most congresspeople. So I'm very proud of that and very happy to have played a small role in that. And the effort continues. So resting on laurels, and now we have an opportunity to flip the 39th. So it's obviously taking a lot of cycles to resistance would chip away, at the Republicans who have been holding these seats for quite some time. As Sally mentioned, Holly PBC is the senator, and like Josh, she's not just any senator, but she's one of the leading Republican senators in the caucus. She's a very, very effective politician. She's very good at sort of working not only the Republican base, but also the independents in the district. How she votes in Trenton isn't necessarily reflected in her messaging back home. And that's a skill. I say I agree with many of her positions, but I do admire the fact that she is a skillful politician. That makes it challenging to run against her. It makes it challenging to recruit strong candidates against her because, well, no, it's going to be a challenging race. And the same holds true for the assembly. Mahwah has been in office for quite some time, and he is effective at his job in terms of maybe not so much effective in China. He's very effective in the district. He's everywhere. He's a hard worker, and he's very good at sort of working his base and working with the tenants as well. So, all that being said, I can share a little bit of I can share some rumors with you. Some unconfirmed news. It's pretty new, and it may end up being true. It may end up not being true. I think it's true. So I'll share it. It looks like that Holly is going to get tossed off the line. She's in the primary, and she's not going to have the line. It looks like she's going to run off the line. Big deal, right?
Yeah.
So all those people who are calling the past 3 months saying 81% and telling me, oh no, it's too hard. Well, now they're calling me saying, hey, maybe I could run to 12 million. I should choose somebody who's willing to step up. So I'll share that news with you. So the person who'll be running for Senate, someone I'm very excited about, is someone that a lot of people who have been involved know. Her name's Jody Murphy. She's from Westwood. She's a councilwoman, a former councilwoman from Westwood. She is now a senior staff member at Bergen Volunteers. She is a wonder. I mean, it sort of speak to her personally. I've worked closely with her in the past couple of years, but she is wonderful. Those people that have gotten to know her and work with her do know she is a great public servant. She's a great campaigner. And if she's successful, I'm very, very confident she'll be a great senator. And like Holly, she does have the ability to reach across the aisle. She has been very effective at that. Time serving in Westwood, which is a very challenging community to serve for Democrats. And she is a similar mold to John Berkner in able to not only motivate the Democratic base, but also to reach across the aisle and work with independents and independent Republicans. So because her skills are really important, not only to campaign this district, but also to serve in Trenton. So I think we're going to be really well served by having her at top of the ticket. And, as I had a conversation just a couple of days ago about this, and I said, uphill race, tough race, but lightning can strike. And maybe something's lightning striking by pushing Holly off the line. I'm not saying she's going to lose in a primary, but it's a possibility. And if she doesn't lose, maybe she's wounded enough, it gives us the opportunity to put the seat.
Who's pushing her off the line?
Chairman, it's
Do they have another
politics.
So they have another candidate?
They do have another candidate. I have to admit this person is, which is even better. Yeah, so it's a real party person, and it's this is true. It was very loyal to the chairman, and that's how these things work on both sides. So that's some good news for us. I hope it's true. I've had a couple phone calls about it just this evening, so I hope it stays true. It's true. It stays true. If so, it's a good thing. And if it's not true, it's obvious they're having a lot of disharmony in the party. So whatever the end results are, it's a plus for us. And I'm really happy about our street candidate. I have one confirmed assembly candidate. It's Davian Grace, who is a former councilman in Dumont, which is probably the most important town. No offense to Mahwah, in that community, at least in terms of Democratic turnout. It's a town that really got good performance in. It's a big town, a lot of Democrats, so really good town to form. Davian is not only a former councilman, but he's an educator. He's a principal of a grammar school. He's a union leader. He sort of brings everything table, and again, very personal food campaigner, a hard worker, to raise some money. So he's gonna be a really good addition to the Assembly Cricket. And I'm oops, hold on a second. Oh, yes, we do. Okay, so we have our final Assembly candidate here. So his name is John Natale. He lives in Ilias, right? The chef, restaurant owner. So very popular. People know him. So he lives in Park Ridge, and we was working with it, and just all right. So you heard it here first. So John's in. He owns cafe.
Anella.
Right, Anella, right.
Anella.
Great restaurant, very popular, knows everyone in Bergen County, really wants to run. So he brings a whole different perspective to the ticket. He's a business owner, great base, obviously, in Westwood or Pascack Valley. It's a restaurant and lives in Park Ridge. So I think we have a really nice, well-rounded ticket. And so a couple sort of local things that are going on. Every town sort of deals with this district differently. These are all the towns that we operate in are different. Mahwah does as well. So, Mahwah history, back when, a long time ago when I was the chair, we had a Democratic mayor, sort of hanging down the partisanship to sort of keep him viable. And, there was some pros and cons to that. Obviously now, under your leadership, this Democratic Party has really grown. The focus has really been in growing the Democratic base in town. I think it's a smarter approach, and I think it's paid off in the states, and it's recognized not just in the district, but countywide, that Mahwah is sort of a town to emulate. She has a lot to be proud of the hard work we've been doing. It's paying off, it's working, and it's being noticed all across the county. So interesting, Ramsey right now is going to be similar conversations that we had, where we were doing it through run candidates and not run candidates to work and building the party. It looks like they're going to pivot towards more of a Mahwah approach. So I encourage you to sort of, I know you have been having conversations over the years, but continue to sort of work with them to help them transition to that approach. I don't know how long it's going to last, at least next year or so. It sounds like that's going to be their focus as opposed to running candidates. And it's a pretty similar population to Mahwah, smaller, but pretty similar population to Mahwah. So I think there's a lot of things they can do that. They can sort of take some examples from Mahwah and Ramsey. He's got some good news in Hillsdale. Hillsdale used to be a town under control and had a lot of successful candidates come out of Hillsdale. Past 5 or 6 years, I think it's been more challenging in Hillsdale. My understanding is we're going to have a good slate of candidates in Hillsdale running. So that's really helpful to us both locally and also up ticket, having a strong team running in Hillsdale. Anyway, I don't want to take up the whole meeting, but any questions? Oh, I have one question before I get a question from Sal. Anyone who hasn't signed the petition yet who's on county committee, could you please? Okay, so I'll go back. All right, good, thank you. Because we need to get these petitions in pretty quickly. I'm very happy to know we have a full slate. Get out of here. That's good news. And you are definitely the first people to hear it. It's not a mess. Any questions for me?
So Holly's off the line. Does that mean off? And do they have somebody to read for this?
Great. They do.
Can you repeat the question?
They do so to replace the assembly candidate from Saddle River, who's not going to run this year. It's he's from Saddle River.
Repeat the question.
The question is, being that Holly potentially being pushed off the line, Sally's question is, well, what happens to the down ticket assembly candidates? And the assembly, they've had a little bit of upset already in that the current assembly person who just recently was elected, 18 months ago, has decided that she's not going to run for the election. So they have the party decided on replacing that person with someone from Saddle River. I think it's Anzalotti, who is I think he's the sheriff or the Republican chairperson of Saddle River, is who the party would like to run, but Holly may decide to choose somebody else. But, which was more confusing, memory serves, this person they chose this time is actually who Holly wanted initially. So it's a whole, we call it Mishigash, right? It's, it's a mess. Yeah.
And did, wasn't it off, was for a nanosecond challenging, easy.
Yes.
So the Senate race.
Yes. Yes.
Probably no love lost.
No, not at all. So they're a mess. Good for us. I wish them the best. So I don't know what's going to happen. Ticket on the Senate on their side, but I imagine there'll be more twists and turns before we actually get to a conclusion. So it's a positive for us. And look, we have a strong slate of candidates. We're going to need a lot of work at Mahwah, sort of ask for so to do the work as it is. The state will probably not give a lot of support to the district this year for these races. The state is concerned about, the state party is concerned about the environment going into the fall. There's a lot of focus going, a lot of the focus is going to put on protecting incumbents. So I think we see a lot of attention paid in District 38. There's a district sort of south of us, sort of, I guess, sort of the whole donut there is sort of Paramus and Fairlawn, sort of key towns in that district, as well as, Bergen Field. So you'll see a lot of focus there, I think, from the county, from the state, to protect Joe Logano's seat. And there's also been a lot of effort to protect, I think, very hard within those seats. So the state parties, going to put this harder to protect their incumbents there. So, that being said, even if the races like the 3-4, we know they're going to be tough. So we have a lot of work to do, but with strong candidates and there's some confusion on the other side, we'll just do the work and hope it happens. Any other questions before I so, seeing none?
Frank Pallotta, he's not the.
I don't know. I don't know what his intentions are. I know I heard some rumors that
I heard.
he was going to run.
Yeah.
No, he sees an opening. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you want to encourage him to get into the race, that would be the worst thing in the world. The more the better, right? Well,
Thanks,
thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to kind of mention something with Todd with this race, because I don't know how accurate this is, where the date is from, but the registration in LD 39 is about 30% Democratic, 29.1% Republican, and 40% unaffiliated. So a lot of our strategy last year, and David can maybe talk about this a little bit later, was working the Democratic leaning unaffiliated. And we have a lot of data that's available to us. And we really mined that data. I think it was the first election cycle that we kind of really got it together in that aspect. So I think going forward into this primary, that's something we need to look at, like who's in Mahwah, who are those Democratic leaning unaffiliated, because that's a big chunk of the voting population.
I'll just interject one thing concerning bad doing that targeting, just so you know. David's efforts are probably the leading efforts in the county of all the municipalities.
Right.
But it's there. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because you were mentioning the other districts that are at risk, some of what we did throughout the year, not just on a local or state level, but on a national level, was we have a lot of people who are willing to write letters and postcards. We'll be concentrating on our candidates, but we are also concentrating on other, like 38, because we've got to make sure the entire state wins. So we're doing that. I did forget to mention before, Suzanne Curry isn't here. She put all the work into the postcard that we did in the fall. We sent out several thousand postcards. And again, some of it with Jerry's help and David's help. We did register Democrats and voted in, I can't remember how many years it was, in the past so many years election, but we also targeted left-leaning unaffiliated. So that was one of our efforts to get our name out there, get recognition. We had all the county candidates. Mariana Rosso couldn't make it tonight. She was at a meeting we had recently. Very thankful and grateful for the work that we did in Mahwah. They really felt like that helped the county. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn over to Lynn, who's our new treasurer, and give us a report.
Well, hi, everybody. I only took over as treasurer in the middle of the year, like July. So it took a little bit getting together, but I have to say, everybody has been so great. You can see David's passing around the sheet with the report of what we've done the past year. And our expenses would have been much higher if not for people contributing printing and envelopes and stamps, and of course their time to address envelopes and do that kind of thing. I don't know what we would have done without these people. So we started the year with about $2,600 in the bank. We got almost $5,000 in donations. Now that included $1,000 from LD39, thank you, $2,000 from Mary, and those were earmarked for the postcard campaign. So thankfully that got paid for, so we didn't really have to worry about other expenses. But there were 15 other people who contributed, plus also contributed their time and their refreshments and, you know, things that you really can't quantify as much, but without them, we couldn't be doing this. So then we spent almost $3,000 in contributing to different campaigns and funds, to Beth's letter writing campaigns in other states as well as in other districts, to our county elections, to Mary Amoroso, our county commissioner, to the Bergen County Victory, which is all the county commissioners as well. So those things, and attending the fundraisers that went with them. And that's the kind of thing we need to be continuing to do. And that's where we get recognition as a town for what we're doing. It's by being there, being present, and helping them, and then they help us. So it's you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and let's all work together, because that's the only way to get things done. We can't work in a vacuum. Postcards and letter writing, the stationery, the printing, etc. It's about $3,000. Our post office box is $200 this year, but it's going up. What a shock! Our tech this year was about $130 because we didn't need to pay for a lot. But the good news is, like, our newsletter is huge and getting bigger, which means we may not be able to have a free account anymore. So we're going to have to pay for it. So the good and the bad, but we'd rather have the greater reach. It's very important to do that. And the web presence and Zoom. Now we have a Zoom Pro account, so we don't have to limit to the 40 minutes. So we need Zoom, and we'll be able to have archives of our meetings for people who can't attend. They can go back, they can see what happened, which is great. And then hospitality refreshments was about $250. And so we ended up the year with about $900, just short of $1,000. So far, and this is what I think is great, we received $175 in donations, and our Valentine's Day fundraiser cost us about $170. So we're stuck on that. So now all of the donations that I know, we're going to get lots of donations from the Valentine's Day fundraiser. So that's all gravy now. And the other things are as they go along. So thank you, everybody, for everything you've done. I can't thank Jerry enough. You know, he got us. I asked for a QR when we managed to get the Act Blue account so people can pay online or use a QR from, you know, our printed pages. And within an hour or so, Jerry had it up for me. He's just great. Thank you, Jerry. And that's it. Anybody have questions about anything? Okay.
You're lucky you went back to the box for that.
Barely good. I just want to mention what Lynn was referring to with this Valentine's Day fundraiser. What we did last year, we did it again this year, is we sent out a letter, and the letter has gone to people who have donated in the past, people who have been active in the club, and we've kind of passed it around to committee members in their district. Let's send a letter to everybody you know. Let's personalize it. It was a very easy effort. I think last year we raised maybe close to $3,000. We'll see what comes in this year. We're kind of expanding it as we go. We don't charge dues. We really haven't done fundraising events. We're kind of looking into that. I know Anna's wife is interested, and probably Jen. We would love to do some events for like younger parents with younger kids, and just do some family-oriented events, not necessarily to raise a lot of money, but just get ourselves out there and do something fun in the community. But the other thing we started to look at is we're doing all this work for campaigns, but we're also concerned about causes. So a lot of people are concerned about women's reproductive rights. Beth was going to speak a little bit later about that. We have Vicki Gallo and Gail Clarisi, who in town have already been organizing every year the Gun Violence Awareness Day in June. And what we kind of decided as a committee, and we're throwing this out to the club, is we're going to kind of take that on as a cause for the year. We're trying to get a program that Gail will talk about into either the schools or the community. And it's not us, the committee, doing this. This is a community program. It's nonpartisan. I think you guys already have people who have signed up in the past, but they're going to come up and explain. So, yeah. That was one of yours.
Well, Gail and I have been working together over the years, really, doing gun violence prevention, gun violence awareness, because we, care so deeply. It is just shocking, week after week, month after month, how many events that we hear about. It's wearing us down, but we are, I think about 5 or 6 years ago now, I began doing a vigil on Gun Violence Awareness Day. Now it's Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. It's the first weekend in June, and it honored a young woman that was shot and killed in Chicago, and that was the backstory. And it's been very interesting. I thought last year I was going to do it because I thought, the vigil, do we really need to? And it was the best one we've had. It was so moving, and I was like, we were just work together to pull it off. And I just, before we begin talking about our efforts this year, some mentioning Gun Violence Awareness Day, I again was thinking, oh, are we going to do it again? And I read an article, and it was about the trauma that we all are going through, even if we haven't had a loved one shot and killed. We all, as a community and as a country, are going through the trauma of this incredible, tragic, story of our culture. And so having an awareness, a vigil actually is important on a regular basis. So I thought that, so it kind of it fed me a little bit about, okay, this is a good thing to continue. But saying that, we are asking for information, any ideas anybody else might have, because, we kind of thought it up as we go. And we're just open to anyone who has a story to tell, anyone who knows someone, by chance. Jan and I met at a meeting, at a town meeting, and discovered that, Jan had a story. So she told her story at the last vigil. And so everyone seems to have a story or something else. So if you have ideas, we're welcome, we're open to it, and we'd love to hear. So with that being said, we also have another program that we're working on to try to bring to the community. And Gail's going to speak to that.
Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America has a program, a community-based program called Be Smart. And it focuses on safe gun storage in the home. And we were hoping that we could bring that program to Mahwah and invite the community. Now, we did not want to do it as the Democratic Club. We just wanted to do it as a community-based program because we want to take the politics out of it, because it's not a political issue. So up till now, what we did earlier in the month was we wrote a letter to the superintendent of schools, asking for them to consider putting on the program through the school district. The school district has a program called the Parent Academy, which I was unaware of and had just been made aware of. And that's a program through the schools that reaches out to the community and provides programs to the parents and other community members that touch on health and safety of the students as well as the rest of us in the community. And we thought that that would be the venue, the text in which to present the program. Vicky and I sent this letter to the superintendent on February 1st. We have not heard back. I called his office and have not heard back from him. We have a backup plan, so if for some reason the school is not interested in putting on the program, we thought there were other organizations maybe in town that would be interested in putting it on for us. So that's where we are now on that. We'll keep you all updated as we receive information. We were hoping that maybe we could do it in early spring, but now it's already the middle of February and we don't know what the school schedule is to allow us, to do this. It's a program for the parents, not for the kids. So it would be put on in the evenings, and we would invite an officer from the Mahwah Police Department to also attend. And because the last time we presented it, he was very informative. There was a lot of questions that the audience had that he was able to answer. And so we're hoping that we could also get a Mahwah police officer to attend, but that's later down the line once we know who's going to sponsor it and how it's going to go forward. So on that, we'll keep you advised. I also have a list if anybody would like to sign their name and their email address or their phone number. Anyone who's interested in helping out in this area, we'd love to have anybody who wants to, lend themselves to this effort. The other thing that we wanted to bring to your attention was, and I think Jerry had mentioned this in the previous newsletter, we're intending to keep you updated on what's going on at the national level and the state level on gun violence prevention. So I think we mentioned in the previous newsletter that Governor Murphy had signed a bill in December to strengthen restrictions on who would be eligible to get a concealed carry permit, and also to limit where people could bring concealed weapons. The day it was signed, it was a group from several different gun organizations challenged the law, and it's now in the courts. So it has not been decided as of yet as to if the bill will stand, if parts of the bill will stand, or none of it will stand. So again, we'll keep you informed probably through the newsletter as to what's going on with that. But we also wanted to mention there are some orange papers on all of the tables with contact information for our state senators and our congressmen. And the reason why we did that is because in January, this is on the federal level, Senator Dianne Feinstein from California introduced an assault weapons ban in the Senate. And there were 41 co-sponsors, 40 are Democrats, 1 is an independent. 2 of those 40 are our New Jersey senators, Menendez and Booker. And so that's a ban on assault weapons. And then later in the month, also in the Senate, a bill was introduced by Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut. It's called Ethan's Law, and it's for the safe storage of firearms. And again, the bill was introduced in the Senate. There are 30 co-sponsors, 28 are Democrats, 1 is an independent, and 2 of those 28 Democrats are Menendez and Booker. So they are both co-sponsors of both of these bills. And there was also a bill introduced in the state, in the House of Representatives on safe storage, and Josh Gottheimer is one of the co-sponsors. So what we've done is we've provided their contact information, and we're asking that you contact them and tell them that you support their co-sponsorship of these bills. I think it's important that they know that we are behind them, because I think often we contact them when we're not happy with something that they do, and they would like to hear from us when they are doing something, that we are appreciative of and that we do that. So that's provided for you there. And again, we'll keep you updated as to what's going on with federal legislation as well as state legislation on this issue. So does anybody have any questions?
Just a quick add, and that is that we did already have the Be Smart program a number of years ago. I don't know if anybody attended it. Yeah, but we did have one, and it was in the building in the senior center. So, and it was memorable. I mean, and so we really want to try and try to get it back. See, possibly get it at the school sponsor. So see.
If the school doesn't sponsor it, how about the library?
That's an option. A question for those. Somebody mentioned in case the school doesn't support it, perhaps the Board of Health Department we thought about. I know they want to have a health. There's talk about having a health fair. So we're coming up with alternative ideas, but we're kind of hoping that we can at least hear back one way or another. Maybe they're trying to figure out, how they can do it.
Hopefully that
is.
Thank you for your report. You have a lot already on your plate, so this may not be doable now or ever, but I've been reading a lot about various organizations throughout the country who are literally giving out free gun locks. Pediatricians are doing it all across the country. Pediatric hospitals are doing it. And there are, there's just article after article after article that's available on the net that you can read. So I don't know, because I haven't looked into it any deeper than what I'm sharing with you now. I don't know who's giving out these locks, how the pediatricians or the organizations are paying for them. But it would be nice if we could find that out, and maybe we could somehow join in this national effort where these organizations are stepping up to help fight this epidemic I won't even go there, because of the epidemic.
You're in safe company. You can go there.
I was just going to say at the last Be Smart gathering, and in fact at one of the vigils, Chief Jaffe, police chief of Mahwah, brought some gun locks. So I think he has them. I don't know if they were given to him. I don't know if the Mahwah Police Department bought them, but he said that they were available for anyone that was applying for a permit, for a gun permit. So they were, giving them to people that were applying for permits, but that's just new gun owners, not necessarily, gun owners, time. But thank you. That's a very good idea.
I think, I think what happened was after we had the presentation in the past, the police department wrote a grant, and they received a grant, and they used the grant money to buy 100 locks. And so police department was going to give them out when somebody applied and received a permit for fire. But at the time when the police officer who came to the meeting told us how many people in any given month applied for a permit for a firearm in Mahwah, we were stunned because the amount was just unbelievably high. So I'm sure that those 100 gun locks are long gone. Now, whether or not they're still doing that, that's something we could probably find out from the police department. And maybe if we have any grant writers among us, that might be something we might want to volunteer for or encourage in some way. But it's something, yes, that we can definitely look into.
It looks like Project Child Safe has partnered with the Mahwah Police Department, like, to do so they do have those locks.
All right.
What's it called? Project
Project Child Safe.
Child Safe.
So there's another organization I see called Locked In for Love.
Excellent. So, and if you've noticed on TV, there have been some commercials by Northwell,
Yes.
Northwell, and they're starting to really promote gun safety, gun ownership, safe storage of guns, with many of the same talking points as the SMART program. So that's heartening. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
That are being handed out in Mahwah. But it's not only people who are using guns to hunt or target practice, it's become a collection item. So if you have, any, especially for parents that have young children who are going into somebody's home, and the types of questions, and I think this is part of what this program does, that you as a parent, what you can ask of another parent or household. So if you're aware that your child is possibly going into the house, you can ask how guns are stored. You can talk with your children about, okay, somebody pulled out a gun, have a code word, or, oh, I feel sick, come pick me up. I mean, so it kind of addresses different strategies, because the gun ownership in our community is like out of control. We know people personally who have 30, 40, 50 guns in their little collection. It's like, they're bourbon or their cigars or whatever. So it's just become, just so much more prevalent in people's homes. And the people who abuse it the most aren't going to come to these programs. So it's, you as a community or you as a parent, you have to be aware where you're going, where your child is going. So I think the program that Gail's talking about addresses that. But next I'm going to ask Beth to come up. Beth has coordinated a lot of our letter writing, postcard writing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out a sign-up sheet. And if people want to look at the topics that we're talking about tonight, if you filled one out already, you don't have to fill it out again. But it could be any involvement. It could be, I'll just do one letter writing party, or I'm willing to canvas or get out the vote. It doesn't have to be you're taking on a big leadership role. You can just check the areas that you're interested in. You can check more than one. I'll probably follow up and kind of see exactly what you want to do, and then assign you to, the person that's working on that. We're going to hand those out.
So the mission actually of the Mahwah part of the Democratic Council Committee is really to work to get candidates elected in our district in LD 39 and CD5. But we decided that we also want this to be a place where Mahwah Democrats can be activists on the national level. So what we started doing, and it was the first time we did it last year, and it was really successful, was we identified states that were really at risk that we wanted to help to get out the vote among the Democrats. And through an organization called Vote Forward, we did letter writing. So we originally started out thinking we were going to hold 4 parties. Vicki offered to have one, and Sally, myself, and Judith Faulkner back there. And we're each going to try to get 10 people at our parties to write 20 letters each. Well, by the time we were through with those 4 parties, plus one of the Mahwah Democratic Club meetings became a letter writing party, we had written 1,700 letters.
Ooh. Wow.
For Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Malinowski's district here in New Jersey, which unfortunately he didn't win, but we did our best to help. So we're going to do the same this year. We're gonna look into a couple of different options. Really like the way Vote Forward works. We're probably going to use them again, but another organization called Center for Common Ground does postcards, fair fight. So we're going to look at all these different organizations as to how to do it. There's another one called the States Project. It does a great job of identifying state legislatures that are at risk. So, in some cases, we might focus on a state where the legislature is at risk, or where we have an opportunity to turn a red state legislature blue. So
Usually we start around August or so that we get the letters out in late September, early October. But we are already going to be starting this year in April because Sally and I went to a Planned Parenthood event a couple of weeks ago. And it looks like Planned Parenthood of Bergen County is getting to be a lot more active. We went to an event. I'm going to one that they're doing jointly with National Council of Jewish Women next week. And Todd mentioned to me that they're coming to the next Saturday morning Democrats meeting. So they're getting really active. So what they're doing is perfect for this whole letter and postcard writing campaign that we work on. District 38, which Todd actually mentioned, is going to be a swing district this year. They're really worried about losing one of the state assembly people. And so they have a postcard. We took 4 packets of them, so we have about 150 postcards right now, which for us is nothing. That'll be easy to get done. And we invited Larissa, whose last name escapes me right now, from Planned Parenthood to Mendez to be our speaker at our April Mahwah Democrats meeting, which is going to be on April 20th. At the same time, it's going to be a postcard writing party. And they want all the postcards back by June, and they're just going to hold on to them and mail them out in October. So we're going to be writing postcards for District 38. And this year, Jan Weiss is going to be helping me with this whole project. So together we're going to be identifying people who want to hold parties in their homes, which Vicky and Sally and Judith can attest to. It's really fun and easy to do. We'll see what we can do to help candidates in other districts.
Yeah, do you want to mention one thing? I know there's so many. I hope people can just go online, like you've been having to say personally for letter writing. There's places where, or you're just organizing that.
Well, yeah, actually, if you want to check out Vote Forward yourself, it's vote. I think it's the abbreviation FWC.org. You can actually register yourself, and what you do is you go out there and you adopt voters, and then you'll get a PDF of the list of voters who are either Democrats or left-leaning independents, and the actual letters that are kind of partially written, and you get to write in a little personal piece yourself. And you can go out on your own and adopt voters. In fact, we wouldn't have had time to do it this time around. But they've already got a campaign that's going to be going for the Supreme Court election that's going to be happening in Wisconsin in April. So if you want to go out there and take a look, actually, I'll check on the exact URL. It's vote FWD.org.
And they have choose a campaign, they have instructions on here. So
it's really easy to do. And then when we do it as a group, we'll get, well over 1,000 letters printed at a time, get groups of people together and some wine and cheese, and it's fun to do. Anything else? Okay. Thanks, Beth.
Next, I'm going to ask Jerry to come up. And he's going to talk a little bit about our newsletter. He put together our website. The Zoom account. I think without Jerry's assistance, all of the technical stuff we do, we'd be lost. So, I mean, we owe so much.
Thanks. I really don't have much to say, to be honest. The things that I'm responsible for are
Mahwah.
I want to talk first about the website. Everybody knows that a website that doesn't change and doesn't stay current, nobody goes to, right? And I'm desperate to try and get our website to be something that people can go to and rely on for current information and up-to-date information. You can always get the newsletter if you know anybody who wants the newsletter, you can always go to tell them to go to the website. You can see the current newsletter and every past newsletter. There's an events page. My big thing is I will, of course, take any help in keeping it up to date. If anybody knows HTML, or if anybody wants to learn, I use a tool called Weebly. If anybody wants to learn it, or I can train you on the basics. More importantly, I am desperate for ideas, right? Well, you know, what is a better background picture? What do people want to see? What would you return to the webpage for once a day, once a week, once a month to look for what's going on so that we can boost its interest level? The ideas of what should be there, I've run out, right? So I'm anxious for any information, any ideas anybody can have about what could be on the webpage. I also have, for some reason, become the Mahwah Day person, which is okay with me. I'm fine with that. I am kind of stuck in doing one thing. The problem with doing the one thing is it seems to be very successful. Our booth is busy for about an hour before Mahwah Day starts. People are roaming around and they want to play the game, and we start giving out prizes like an hour early every single year, and we have to push people away at the end, right? And, well, yeah, I always tried to add new things. Last year I added tattoos for the kids, and we were smart. We had 2 stations putting tattoos on all the time. So, again, set up in the morning. I appreciate everybody's help, offers to help. We really don't need setup time in the morning. It's very straightforward to set up. Having people in the booth during the day is always important. Having people helping out with teardown is always important. It's fun. You're with people that you know. The kids are great. I have to admit, 80%, 90% of the people that play the game are the kids, where the parents give them the answer, and 9 out of 10 times it's the wrong answer. Just to me, right? It's always the kids know more than the parents. Really scary, right? But it's always the kids, and it's just a lot of fun. To be honest, it's just a lot of fun. They talk back with you, there's banter. So participate and volunteer to like man the booth for a certain amount of time. You know, we've got people that do 2 hours at a time. We can push more people in there. So the webpage, Mahwah Day, there's not much to talk about. Email, I mean, it's moving pretty smoothly. We may be moving to a new one that I'm evaluating because the one we use now is raising their costs. They went from free for 2,000 contacts to $27 a month for 500 contacts. And we're way over 500 contacts, which I'm very happy to say, right? So we are going to have to move to another one, but I don't think anybody's going to notice, right? What else is there? That's it. Mahwah Day in the West Day. Thank you. Thank you. What's it say? Read the damn newsletter. Huh? Read the newsletter. Tell me your friends. You know, one of the big things that I try to push in Mahwah Day, I have a sign about it, right, is get your independent friends, get your Republican friends. I don't know if you can use that word. Anyway, because we really push in the newsletter. There's of course some bias towards the Democratic Party, but there's a lot of local information that I don't understand why they're not interested in learning about also. So they could learn that we just give information, right? 80-90% of it is information about what's going on in the county, in Mahwah, in the town, in the county, and in the state and in the federal government. Not just, and vote for this person because, you know. And we got to get more people to understand that it's just a worthwhile thing to read. Oh, I'm not standing on my bus. I'm sorry. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gotta say, that reminded me, I was at a meeting the other night and there was a couple people I'm friendly with that are Republicans who get our newsletter, and they said everyone in town should get this newsletter. And because the coverage, the local news, we have a section called Did You Know, where we explain a concept. I've got to thank like Beth and Jerry.
Oh, that's a good one to throw in. We could use more people to volunteer for Did You Know articles.
Yeah, so what we try to do is explain a concept. So we did one on explaining pilot, because you're hearing that in town. So it's payment in lieu of taxes. So some of the development that's going on there, it's an arrangement with the municipality where a developer pays what's called a pilot payment. It's usually a 30-year plan. The school district is not none of the money goes to the school district unless it's like built in. Usually it's for developments that don't impact population, like the Crossroads could potentially be a pilot program. Monarch senior living. We've talked about doing gerrymandering.
We did gerrymandering.
We did gerrymandering.
Right, I wanted to do the filibuster, except I couldn't figure it out yet. Filibuster.
Regina's a child to that, but, and I want to thank Daniel. He's going to work with Jerry and help.
Yes,
with
sorry, yes.
this. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about Mahwah Day, I know when the first Mahwah Day I did in the Democratic booth, it was like, we were like the enemy at the day. It was like hardly anybody came in. It was, I don't know, it's just different now. Like I feel like people just come to the booth because it's fun. I don't feel that kind of animosity.
Yeah, I don't feel that at all.
And I think our booth, you know, it's not just campaign signs for candidates, and it's not just like the local candidates doing their spiel. I mean, we really try to think of a fun thing. But the next person I'm going to go to is David Forshaw. He's been leading to get out the vote. He can explain a little bit what he did in 2022. If you have any plans yet for 2023.
David Warshaw, Get Out the Vote, GOTV, started last January. People think that campaigns start after Labor Day. They don't. Campaigns start now. We have 3 candidates, and the cycle is going to be, they're going to be approved at the county convention in March. That starts campaign season. We have a primary in June, and primary in New Jersey, uncontested. Why should I go out and vote? Voting in a primary is energy to go out and campaign. So the more people who are engaged at primary time, you have captured them for the general. So voting is a year-round activity. Getting out the vote is a year-round activity. So those of us who are on the county committee who have our list of people who we are responsible for, I'm going to come by and start to harangue. What can you do within your district to meet and know and reach out to the people in your district now, not with the hard campaign message, but that we're here and we want to listen to you? Because part of campaigning is people campaign and vote for people they know and trust. So part of party building, and this is what Sally has led us to the last several years that we've been, we're in plans the last 3 years from the town of Hohokus that shouldn't exist, but which is now in our district. 4,000 people shouldn't exist. But if you don't know that there was redistricting both on the federal level with CD5, congressional district, and our LB district. And in that redistricting, our little district 39 lost all of the Passaic towns. So now our district, our state legislative district is only Bergen County. So that's a plus. We don't have some towns over the river. We also moved east to the river and south to some of the towns. So Allendale, Hohokus, Waldwick, and Allendale, Midland Park are now in our district. They moved from 40 to District 39. So we have new territory to talk to. So if you are thinking about what towns land, and part of campaigning in New Jersey is we only think of the borders of our town, and we're doing very well in building party in Mahwah, but we're also getting a reputation about helping build party in other towns. So as you know people in other towns, and you know, so bring them in, invite them here, get them on our newsletter list so they can see what Mahwah is doing and they can encourage it. But again, what I would say is campaign starts now. And then we will begin getting in earnest as we go out and do the phone calling. And I hope that we'll have road warriors like John Simpson and Judith Faulkner to go out and knock on doors, which are great. And Sally, I think single-handedly, last campaign cycle, did something like 1,200 phone calls. So part of our success, you won't necessarily see it in the return, in the turnout, but we are gaining traction in Mahwah just because people know about it. So you'll hear from me if you have any ideas about that. But all I can say is talk to your neighbors and say, campaign has started already. So let's talk about the good things that we can do as we move forward into the fall. And thank you very much.
One thing we didn't mention as people are filling out the sheets, I think one area we really need some help with is social media and also reaching like younger people. So like Jen, Daniel, getting to like the younger parents in town. And I think in talking about the races, one thing we didn't touch on, we're gonna have Board of Ed races this year. It was last election was, we have a person that's now on the Board of Ed that we did not agree with. So we're watching for who's going to be stepping forward to run for Board of Ed. So that's a race that we're going to watch closely. And I'm see. I don't know, Jen, if you have anything you want to say about it, but the other thing is April 20th. I think Beth mentioned is the next meeting. I believe that's a Thursday. So that's where we're going to have.
We're gonna have a march for two, though, right? Maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think in March. We don't have anything planned yet. We're gonna have a speaker. We might have the focus maybe be on local. Yeah, so April 20th is the one where we're gonna have the representative from Planned Parenthood do the the postcard writing. But at this point, I don't know if anybody has questions, if you have ideas. We've kind of thrown out a lot of stuff. Maybe there's something that people in the room feel like they want to work on, or we should take some attention to, or you've got questions about something that anybody's talked about. If anybody's got comments or questions. Otherwise, I don't know, Sally, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No.
Okay, so I think we're done. We can socialize if you want to talk to any of us that have spoken tonight. So hope to see you at the next meeting.
Someone on the calls is asking, is there a Democratic club at the high school or at Ramapo College?
I don't believe so. There might be at the college. Yeah, no. And I don't even think there's a Republican club at the high school.
There has been, there might be.
Yeah, the
There-
past.
At the high school or the
Yeah.
college. Yeah, not that we know of, but no.
Well, here, I'd like to comment on that. We would, there is no Democratic, club at the high school. I believe in the past, there has been a Republican club because Chris Hughes, who was elected to the school board, was active with that group. We would be thrilled to help, any of the kids at the high school, get something organized. I don't know what the status of the Democratic group is at Ramapo College. It's on, it's off. Carlito Almeida, who ran for assembly 2 years ago and is our member. He was the president there when he was at Ramapo College. So that comes and goes at Ramapo College. But at the high school, there has never been a Democratic club that we know about. So, any other questions, Sherry?
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, wait.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Here, back to Sally.
Yeah, just want to mention one other thing. If anybody in the room is ever interested in doing anything with a town commission or committee, you can talk to one of us. Vicky's on the planning board, she's on the environmental commission, and you're on the beautification. I'm on the environmental commission, Jen Park's on the library board. We have members that are on the Board of Ed, and some of the historic, Ann Howley is the chair of historic. Preservation Committee. She is looking for people. So if anybody here is interested in the history of Mahwah or preserving historic sites, write it on your sheet or see me. But it's pretty easy to get involved on the town level. So especially in areas where they're looking for people. So that's the last thing. Yeah, that's it. But thank you for coming.
Thanks, Heather.